Welcome to the Data Playbook podcast. It's a podcast for data leaders to build more data-centric organizations. We do that through a series of conversations with other data leaders, data experts, and data practitioners. I'm Kris Peeters, I'm the host, and today I have two guests with me, Tom and Elia. Welcome.
Hi.
Before we dive in, can you quickly introduce yourself? Maybe start with you.
Yeah, I'm Sven, CTO of Publiq. I suppose we talk about Publiq afterwards, but I do this now for 2 years, CTO. But I have a software engineering background, typical path like developer, then full stack, then solution architect, then technical lead, and now for 2 years, CTO.
Conquering the world one step at a time.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Cool. And Elia, welcome.
Great. Thanks for having me also here on the podcast. I'm Elia, physicist by training, but then made a switch to AI, first in academia, and now already 2 years at Publiq as a data scientist.
All right, cool. Welcome. And indeed, so both of you work for a company or an organization called Publiq with a Q. Can you talk a bit about what Publiq is, what you do?
Yeah. So Publiq is about connecting users, citizens with actually events with the providers. So in Belgium, we have a rather big landscape of people organizing activities in all kind of domains. We focus mainly on the culture domain, the youth domain, and the sport domain. And in this rich data landscape, it is we collect all the events in a central database and enable participation on these events. That's like in a nutshell what we do. We are subsidized, therefore, by the Flemish governments. So we have also a contract with the Flemish government to do this, to realize this mission. And we do this like for 20 years. And we have now a lot of products. It's all started with one central database, the Uitdatabank, and a listing site and agenda site out in Vlaanderen. But then, we want to enable more and more and facilitate more and more this participation. And then we started with a loyalty and discount program, it's Uitpas. And then in 2018, we started a subscription program for musea. It's a museum pass. It's like, you pay a fee a year, and then you can go to 250 musea, for example. And other products mainly focused on one target group of our domain. Also, we have a product for schools, for teachers, bringing culture into the schools, etc. Yeah, that's the thing Publiq is doing.
All right, cool. And so you bring together all the events or most of the events that happen. Is it only in Flanders? Is it the whole of Belgium?
It's Flanders and the Brussels, the Dutch-speaking part of Brussels. Yeah. And Museum Pass is the whole of Belgium. And we have some experiments as well, like in Zeeland. It's cool. Close to the Belgian border, but we have some experiments abroad as well. Yeah.
And it started from culture, but you're including more and more sports and youth activities as well, or how should I see that?
True. Yeah. Like it's a bit complicated in Belgium because it's another government, another organization in the government, another department. But like sports and all these leisure activities is there we focus on.
All right, cool. And so the topic of today. Is we're going to dive into one of the things that you're building right now. It's called Radar.
Yeah.
And Radar is some kind of AI tool or AI system that you're building. Okay, and so it's a big leap coming from, we're collecting information on cultural events, on sports events, youth events. We're having the Uit database, stuff like that, Uit in Vlaanderen. Where does AI fit into this?
Yeah. So we have this mission to inform citizens and also give some inspiration. but yeah, probably this feeling as well. You have endless listings, some random recommendation of a bit of information overload. And to tackle this problem, we think chatbots or AI can help us in that. You can start a conversation, etc. But like Elia and me and the rest of the team thought from we can go further. We can go one step further, and we can bring in AI on other aspects of our business as well.
Yeah. What I can maybe add to that, it's a bit more technical, but I still think so. The data bank is a database, right? And it contains like all this information about like leisure activities. But if you, for instance, want to do recommendations, you just have this entry in the database, which is like, okay, when does it happen? Where does it happen? This is like objectively clear information on which you can filter, because people have to be in a certain place in a certain time for an event in the real world. So that's fair. But then you have these teams that organizers can link to this event. But that's already, well, a bit more subjective. And also like you have very small scale organizers that maybe don't have the resources to really like make sure that their entries in the database are like to the highest standard of quality.
Yeah, it's never perfect, right?
No. And the same thing for text descriptions. Whereas, okay, as a human, it's like very clear that these descriptions contain a lot of interesting information. If you read the text description of an entry, it's like quite obvious. Like as a human, you can read it, for instance, like a movie, and you can read the description of the movie and it might be like very limited. But if you then are like interested or triggered and you're not really sure what the movie is about, you can still Google it and look at, okay, what is this movie and does it interest me? But so that we feel is like something like, okay, if we have movie events in our database that have a text description that obviously mentions the movie, well, why don't we make sure that we have extra data about, for instance, this movie, but you can do it for a concert, like just having the text description of a concert with like a description of what the band is like. Okay, fair enough. But like you can also really analyze the text description and see which artists are mentioned, and then go in the internet to other sources that contain information about musical artists, about movies. Like this thing that you would either do as a human naturally or do as a human manually by doing extra research.
And so that's enrichment of data. And is that what you call radar then? Or what is, because you're building the system called radar, is it enriching the data in the databank, or how should I see it?
That's where we start, I think.
Yeah, I think that's definitely fair to say. Like it's indeed like enrichment is a big part of it. And the other thing is, I don't know exactly how to say it in English, like ontsluiting in Dutch, like also like exposing it to end users, which would then be like the chatbot or a recommender system.
Yeah.
So I think radar is like the overall framework of, okay, how can we, make all of this work either in a smarter way or more efficient way, either by having better data to use or by exposing it more efficiently.
But in a way, you're doing the legwork for all the small organizations that submit events on your website. Because how does that work actually? If I'm organizing, I guess if I'm organizing something big, you detect it automatically, things that happen in the Koning Boudewijn Stadium or something. But if I'm organizing a small wine evening somewhere here around the corner, then how does that event end up in your database today?
Yeah, that's a business model a bit of Publiq. So we created this databank, this big database where we collect like 200,000 events or activities a year.
200,000?
200,000, yeah.
Insane.
Like I said, a rich landscape of activities in Flanders. And there are two ways. We created this UI. It's now the third version of this UI, this application. It's a really simple UI with a really good user experience to fill in all your data about the activities. And it's like 50% of the events are coming with with the CUI, and the other 50 is like with API connection. So we made like a really low level or a really simple REST API with good documentation, etc. So if you are a provider and you want to be in this database, or you can choose directly, or you have these local systems from like sometimes from a ticketing vendor, sometimes for a city of a region, and then with an API connection, we get this in the database. What's the purpose of this? Then you get out in Vlaanderen. Out in Flanders, it's like the biggest listing site with a lot of users in Flanders, the biggest agenda. And then also we have API connections and widgets on these local sites. So it's like, you put it in once, and we fan out on a lot of channels, also media or newspaper websites where your event is published. So one job, and then you get a lot of advantages. Exposure.
Yeah. So you just have to get your event into that databank, and then it gets fanned out to many different outlets.
Yeah. True.
Yeah. But so the problem you're solving, if I understand correctly, is that today, of those 200,000 events, a lot of them, contain limited information about what the event is about. It's just a title. As you said, like there's a location, there's a time, right? You need to put that in. But it can be quite limited in terms of what is it actually about. And if I'm going through the data bank, I have to Google myself, is this an artist I want to see, or is this a kind of event I want to join? And you want to enrich that proactively. Is that correct?
I think that's definitely the gist of it. Maybe I want to add one nuance. So it's not necessarily that it's limited, but it's also unstructured information, right? It's just text, which is, again, fine for humans, but we're building a recommender system. And then you're like, okay, this would be very nice if the recommender system could take artists or movies into account. And then, of course, you need the entities, the relevant entities in a more structured way. So that's that's a very big challenge to go from unstructured natural language to like more structured information that automated systems, be it a recommender system or whatever. But like as soon as you need a computer to deal with it, it needs to be more formal, more structured.
A good example, I think, is the Uit with Vlieg label, is this fly icon for families and activities for toddlers. Sometimes they tag it. They know, if we tag it, this is really an activity for families, and we get on the subsites for the target groups. But most of the time they don't tag it. And then we have some machine learning experiment, or it's not an experiment. It's also it's in production already, where we get we extract the data, and this is for toddlers. For children we add the label,
and that's already in place.
This is one initiative that is already in place.
Not fully yet, but we're getting there. We're getting definitely. I think that also ties back to one of your earlier questions. What you said, is it the enrichment or is it the exposure of this information? And I guess why we now put it in one framework is because we noticed what we did for the Vlieg label. That's this kind of enrichment, but also for the recommender system, it would be cool if we would have more structured information, and then also to expose it in different ways. So we're noticing that many people in different projects are working on the same kind of thing, right? So whether you want to enrich it with information about the artist, or you want to enrich it with a label that is yes, no, this is applicable for children or not. On a technical level, this is the same problem. That's, I think, one of the insights that we had recently.
You're trying to tackle it now with LLMs, but making data more structured. In the past and still today, you can also use linked data for that, right? So I guess if everybody just is clear about all the categories, and then you don't need to get it from unstructured data, you can get the linked data. You can use the linked data directly to see literally links between events and artists and stuff. So have you have you experimented? Have you worked with linked data already? And what are the shortfalls, or why are you now using LLMs as well? Right?
Yeah, that's a good question. Like in our data bank, it's tabular. We have 3 entities like events, places, and organizers, and then, we get along with the tabular structure. Like 2 years ago, we started at Outwisselings platform, is the exchange platform for more cultural data than our own domain. Our own domain, like these activities and these entities. And in this Outwisselings platform, we try to collect and motivate other organizations to put data products on this platform. And there we introduced this linked data format and with the official Oslo standard of the Flemish government.
Yeah.
And there, we get like there's now this flyout traject with to get ticketing data on it. Also, Kunstpunt, a very cool organization who has data for producers like for 30 or 40 years ago. We also structured data, and now they're putting it on the platform as well. And here comes in this linked data. Because it's really cool to link it we have this producer for example this Dutch this Flemish singer Arno, and like in the 70s he played at Thematic, this group, and then you can make this connection, and that's why we're now using linked data. But then, probably radar also comes in. We have some difficulties now with the entity resolution. To really say, we have this event in this ticketing system, and it's the same event we have in our data bank. This event is about the cover group of this Arno singer. And we want to link it with the data source of Kunstpunt, where we have all the information about Arno, which group he played with, instruments, with biography, etc. And now entity resolution, we have some experiments as well with machine learning, getting the distance, etc. But we or Elia also thinks their LLM would give us really,
That's my feeling here. Like, so what linked data gives you is definitely, like you get people to agree on schemas, let's say, on like, which is the important properties of this kind of entities. And that's definitely, you can do something with data providers to have these discussions, and it's not easy, but it's possible. And if you have like ticketing providers, you can get them around a table and be like, okay, guys, what do we need to know of a ticket that's being sold? And on what can we agree so that afterwards we can link the data? That's fine, you can do that. For the data bank, you have so many, like literally thousands of providers, of organizers, big and small, cities, small towns. Anyone can put data in the data bank. That's the concept. So there, you don't have control upstream. So that's always going to be unstructured text data that you're getting. You can't get those people to commit to like a fixed schema.
Because there's so many small vendors or small players that submit data to you, and you can manually turn that into linked data, I guess, but that costs a lot of time and energy.
And so so that's one thing, like you don't control your upstream data. So the linked data thing, I think, makes a lot of sense when it's like a few players with a lot of data. But if you have many players with little data, then it's much more difficult to get it to work into practice, because it's like a high initial cost to start doing.
That's interesting.
And so the other thing is the entity resolution, right? Like entity resolution is just a hard problem, period. And so now I think, like since ChatGPT 2 years ago, now we can do a bit more. Like you can literally ask a chatbot, like, do you think that this entity, this Arno that's being mentioned in this text, is this the same Arno than the one with Thematic here in the database of Kunstpunt? And depending on the context of that text, like, this was very difficult before LLMs, right? Because then you have like, I don't know, and if you're lucky, a bird year, and then maybe it's a concert, so then it's like already more likely. Whereas now, big quotes here, but like since 2 years, computers speak language, and so they have a bit more. You have a bit more chance of a much higher chance of success to see. I mean, that's like, at least for me, like I'm now, let's say, 10 years professionally in the scene of data and data science and AI and so on. It's like the biggest progress I've seen on entity resolution in the decade, for sure. Like now you can do things that 2 years ago were impossible. I do think it's worth taking this seriously.
Okay, and so now I understand you're in an R&D phase of doing this for Radar. And do you already have some results where you indeed see, well, yes, with using LLMs, by using LLMs, entity resolution is, I don't know, 20% better, 80% better, 500% better? I don't know if you have any numbers on that already.
Yeah, we did. So this summer we had like a very good intern, and he did it for movies. So just movies, and okay, which movie is this about? And there it was really like, if you automate it, I don't have the numbers on the top of my head, but it was like, if you do it classically, let's say, that was like 50% of the time you were able to extract a movie, and you could find it in TMDB, like an open source IMDb database. Yeah. And with LLMs, you could get in a 90% region. So like basically, if you did it classically, it was like, okay, this is unusable. Like this is just not good enough. You're never going to build any practical application. Like you don't want your end users to see this. Yeah. But so with LLMs, you basically had the conclusion like, okay, this is possible. And actually the bottleneck, surprisingly, was not like if you extracted the movie, you could resolve it to a movie in an external database. So there, the resolution was actually not the problem anymore. The extraction was the most difficult part, which was interesting, but that was not what I expected before going in there. So
what do you mean the extraction was the most difficult part?
So you get a description of a movie event, and then sometimes the system couldn't find the movie in the description. So then we were like, okay, how can we make this better? And the answer was like basically the extraction. That was more difficult than the resolution, which was before. I don't think that was the case. So it was quite unexpected.
So you mean if somebody submits a movie in the databank, entity extraction is knowing which movie this is about. Yeah. So it's the latest James Bond movie, and then the resolution, is that correct what I'm saying? The resolution is then looking up the TMDB database or whatever to find, okay, give me everything you know about this movie, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, they're obviously intertwined, right? If you extract the wrong entity, you're never gonna be able to map it. But still, so that worked really well. Okay, movies is probably an easy domain, but still, it was like very encouraging result.
Okay, all right.
But this was like a proof of concept, huh?
Yeah.
So, like you said, we're still in the R&D phase. We're building now this plan to how to. Going to the next steps of this, also get some funding for it. But,
important
fundraisers, of course. Also, getting know the business what we want to solve and get them involved. The other leaders, like the marketing CEO. And then the COO, etc. Yeah,
because indeed, maybe what is the case for doing this? Imagine you do this right, you do this perfect. Radar is live tomorrow. Do you hope to get more people joining events? Do you hope to get more events on the platform? Do you hope it's easier to exchange information between events? Make links? Like, what is it? Do you have a specific business goal in mind with Radar?
Yeah. So for that, we use this strategizer framework. We have key trends, macroeconomic trends, industrial trends, etc. So and for every of these 4 aspects, we have there a match where we can do it. Like for example, the market expect more and more like a chatbot format or more to get on the concept, the context, where you're in. You want to go for a night out. Okay, we have some suggestions for you, really cool suggestions. So that's the thing we see people more and more expecting.
It's great. Sorry to interrupt you there, but it's crazy how fast that went, right? Because even for me, a couple of years ago, it's normal. You just Google search something, you Google search or you browse through database and let's refine the filters. But now I'm getting really used to indeed chatting like, I want this, and no, I'm not looking. I want a night out in Brussels, and I don't want loud music, and then it makes a list of suggestions. But make it a bit more fancy, or also with food, and then it makes another. Like people are very quickly changing their search behavior, right? And that's a market trend you said you saw, right? Okay, and you want to. With Publiq, you want to be ready for that trend.
Yeah, because if you go to Out in Vlaanderen now, you have this really smart filters, etc. But still, you have to filter it.
I know.
So that's one thing we see. Also some industry forces. We see like people are more and more going to these big platforms. Like Facebook for getting their events. I get an events information or ticket swap with the big tech companies.
Yeah.
And still, we want to have an alternative for that.
What's wrong with the big tech companies?
Yeah, they collect a lot of user data on what we think not so privacy proof or GDPR proof way.
It's questionable.
Yeah, that's exactly. Thank you. And then also we're aware of the monopoly effect of if your only channel is Facebook and especially the rather small providers probably have to pay to get viewed on Facebook, then we're in a model that's not facilitating this real ecosystem right now.
I think maybe, but that's maybe implied in what you said. There's also the unpredictability of the algorithm, right? Because it's probably free to post things on Facebook, but what is the likelihood that your event will get recommended? You have zero control over that.
Voila.
But could I not say the same thing about what you're building? Like if I submit it to Uit in Vlaanderen, well, you might recommend my stuff. I don't know. I mean, what you probably are building like that. That's your secret sauce, right? Or how are you doing that different? Are you doing it differently?
I think so. Because we want to, with the Sweden project, we want to be in control of it. And even get some human in the loops if needed. And also, like Publiq is public funded, so we have this values, and it's also it's laid out in our contract with the Flemish government. They have a bit of serendipity in it.
That's in your contract.
Yeah, even it's like we have to like I said, we have to inform people, but also inspire people. And this serendipity, this is really like it's also like in public broadcasters, contact, the VRT and RTBF in Belgium. It's really like a mission of Publiq, and we have to do this. Also, this filter bubble thing. More and more people are aware of that these algorithms and this application we talked about can get you in this filter bubble.
What is a filter bubble for the people who don't know?
Yeah, the filter bubble. Maybe you can.
It's like, I guess the most common way to explain it is like in Facebook. If you like stuff, like I don't know, I like a picture of a lawnmower, and then the algorithm thinks like, okay, Elia loves lawnmowers, so from now on your feed is just the newest lawnmower all day, every day.
Yeah,
and that's like maybe you can. It's hard to get out of there. So at some point you get like stuck in a, maybe I cared about lawnmowers on Sunday, but not on Monday anymore. But now I can't get out. So you're really stuck in a, in a mathematical sense, you're stuck in a local optimum. Like what was right for you at that moment.
Yeah.
The algorithm gets in like some kind of self-enforcing loop and doesn't get out of that anymore.
And lawnmowers are quite innocent, but I think you can also apply that to like, getting into some kind of left-wing or right-wing extreme
in the current
geopolitical views
situation.
Yeah, exactly, right.
Well, for instance, I mean, I think it's fair to say that a certain American president would not have been elected if not for this kind of algorithmic content that seems to trigger people to really get locked in echo chambers.
Yeah. And so you have in your contract with the government that you like when you mention the word serendipity, that you try to avoid those filter bubbles for
especially for culture, also youth events like this bumping into something new, this happy accidents.
That's part of it.
That's part of it. That's part of your cultural experience. It's really important for Publiq, and I could say, like, for all the guys and girls who work with us, that this is our mission.
But it's literally in your DNA, right? It's in your. It's what you have to do, right? There's the difference with commercial players. They're there to make money.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I think that's indeed like a very big one, right? Like, why does Publiq also build a recommender, or why do we try to showcase this or that event? Is really like, okay, Facebook does it with their algorithm to recommend you content that you like, but why do they do it? Like, their only incentive is ultimately commercial, right? They just want to be Facebook and earn money by ads. And we want to put something on the other side of that. Like, okay, we also do that, but we have no agenda. Our only agenda is to facilitate a healthy leisure information. We just want to facilitate organizers and participants to find each other. And so just by having completely different incentives, that leads to different decisions that you make in like how you build it.
But then the other part of it is as well, you mentioned like they collect a lot of data on us, like the Facebooks of this world, and it's questionable what they do with it. But again, I could say the same, you just explained like how it's your mission to collect more data and enrich the data. So aren't you doing the same then as Facebook?
Yeah.
One big difference is the data about events, right? It's like not privacy sensitive. So it's really just understanding what's going on in the event data. That's I think one.
Where Facebook is more focused on the user and you're more focused on the events.
Yeah. So like the recommendations we generate right now is also about clicks on Out in Vlaanderen. We're very open on this. But like with Radar, if we get much richer data from the providers, and we get some context, what you want, what you where you are, etc., in which group context you are, etc. Then we can make a match over there with less user data. So there is the need to get all this user data and to like the borders of this privacy, what's okay and what's not okay, is not that needed anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So you need actually less user data if you have richer event data. That's your strategy.
Also, I think one big thing that I'm personally pretty excited about is, of course, in a sense, a recommender system that works well, recommends stuff that you care about.
Yeah.
And so now you're looking at, what does the user like? Also not in Vlaanderen, you can put a heart on something. So then obviously, we use that information. It would be silly not to. But it's a very implicit signal. Like maybe you clicked on it because you thought it had a funny picture.
Yeah.
But if you have like a chat interface, like I want to do something in Brussels tonight, and then it suggests something, and then like, okay, no, make it less fancy. That's like a super explicit channel that you open up to really understand what is this person looking for now. So instead of like spying between quotes on users, like you don't care about the likes in a sense. You care about, what is this person interested in this context right now? So why go via all these implicit signals, whereas you can just ask the person have the person tell you what they care about in that moment.
I never thought about it like that, but you're completely right. Indeed. So why do all the data harvesting? A user is very explicit about their intent. I intend to go out in Brussels next weekend. I intend to have a fun night out, not too loud music with blah. It's very clear what they want.
Yeah, plus also the privacy thing becomes like almost irrelevant, right? Like, of course, I want you to use this information right now. That's why I'm asking it.
Yeah. Yeah, what are you doing with my data? Well, you're helping me find the event that I asked you to find for me. Thank you very much.
If we can get there, that would be amazing.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
All right. You were walking through the strategizer framework, right? We covered market. What was the
like the industry forces, etc. We have key trends. I think AI now is the moment. And on the other side is also the macroeconomic forces, like every government or subsidized organization. We have some budget cuts. So we have to think, I think Publiq now always has to be very smart or where we put the budgets on and etc. But this distance between budget cuts probably more and more in the years to come, and on the other side, we have to invest in. We see other organizations, companies, big, small, invest in AI. So it's really a difficult balance right now for Publiq. Yeah. So we now feel it like the government is still want to invest in some projects, but afterwards, like the business model, or you have to take care of it. We help you to invest, but so that's the exercise that is going on as well right now.
Do you have a plan on how to monetize Radar then? Or I don't maybe.
I think So Radar is really, it's not a new website or a new application. It's really it's an internal system with an API where you get for this user or for this data point extra information. But I think we can expose this in our own products. It's like this listing site, but even on Outpass, Museumpas, this loyalty and this subscription programs. But on the other side, we can also, and once again, we are not here for the money. But I think also other products can benefit and will pay a small amount of money to use this product. Because if they have to create this or develop this on their own, it will be much more complexity, much more funding needed, etc.
Can you give an example of that? Hypothetical, of course.
It's really hypothetical. I know. But companies, we have this now. We're subsidized to get the data on the websites and application for regions or cities. They pay a really small amount of money for it. But other companies are already paying for data. So the Proximus, but still it's a big bunch of activities. Like I said, 200,000 a year. But I think that's what we have to work out now. But I think they will be interested in this service as well, to get more context-based information that they can foresee for the users as well. Yeah.
Okay. And in the coming back to the wait, before we go there, were there more points in the strategizer framework, or is it like?
No, I think we all have macroeconomic forces, this market forces. No.
And what was that framework? Do you know the strategizer?
It's maybe the business model canvas, and it's it's on top of that. Before you go to the business model canvas, so that will be our next step. You can have this framework, and it really gives you all the advantages, but also the threats you have in your ID. It's really for this ideation phase.
That's interesting. Okay. And so if we dive back into you're now in the R&D phase of Radar, can you already share some learnings or hurdles you had to overcome, or things that you didn't expect? What is going super well, maybe as well? What are you really happy about? Yeah,
I think the experiments that Elia told already, is like the vlieglabel, and then to extract the movies on these entry points. That is going really well, but for me, the biggest hurdle now is to get this on scale, and also get this really in an application with a good API on it, really to industrialize
it.
This, This will be because now Elia did an experiment, and a really good intern did experiment. But it's really like individuals, maybe. So for me, going to the next phase. We have this data layer where we use GCP, but our operational. The platform where all the products are about and all the API integration is on AWS. To move this only from GCP to AWS with a much more operational for a much more operational scale, this will be a big step for us, and also to get a team around it, because Elia is now doing the data scientist part, but also the data engineering part.
You're doing everything.
No, but like, I mean, the Vlieg thing, for instance, I didn't do well, like applicable for children. But like to me, the very explicit about it, that's Louis that did it. But so many people of the team are working on like tiny things that fit in the bigger framework. For me, like one of the challenges, like, okay, how to make this happen for real? Because like the framework is like clear in my mind, but then, okay, how do we get these efforts, like a POC here, someone that's working on the children label there? How do you get it in this big framework? Also on a technical level, like you want this to be like one code base, or at least like, pieces and bits of code that fit in the bigger puzzle. And so for me, like the big puzzle conceptually is now more or less clear, but like, okay, now the translation comes to literally code. And indeed, like the infrastructure question is also not trivial, like how to make it scale, on which environment do we do it, like very silly, but like the data people, let's say the data scientists and engineers, are on Google. But the infra people that are really great at keeping all the products 24/7 available, they're on AWS. And so for now, we did like batch analysis, like every night we run stuff. That's like fine. But the recommender system is now, that's a service that needs to be live 24/7. But like we build it on Google, but actually it would be much better that the infrastructure guys on AWS would monitor it and host it and everything. So there again, you have like, okay, how do we do this? At what point do we do the handover?
Do you want to do a handover?
That's still to be...
For me, it's no question, but
you want to do handover?
Yeah, because like this is OLAP versus
online analytical processing versus online transactional processing.
Exactly. And then we like for Publiq, we did this now for 20 years to have this application with a lot of usage, a lot of where we have this cloud engineering team. Elia said it already. It's really good DevOps guys. They can like Museum Pass, like I said, 250 musea. I think now over the 200,000 passes sold. It's really like it's not a really big system, but still, it's and we have this team, this infra team. We have like a product team. We have this dev team, so they know how to build infrastructure for it. These dev guys, they know how to build good APIs for it. This product guys know how to build a product, even a B2B product, like our Databank is with this API and widgets. They know how to provide a good developer experience for external parties to use this service. So really, it has to embed in our the way of working we now doing, and if I may say, successfully. For years now. I think this handover is really necessary.
Maybe not completely, but there's really this question. I mean, for me, it's really challenging. It's also like the first time that I'm really thinking about these things, but like who does what, when, like, and that's really like, I mean, this is obviously like a data science and a data engineering problem, but as Sven says, like at some point, it's also like, at some point in the pipeline, it becomes a digital product. And that's like other people in the organization that are really good at that. And so there we need to see like, the best person for the job needs to be able to do it. But to translate this and actually building it, that's not far from a trivial exercise, at least for me.
No.
If it helps, maybe not, but this is something we see at a lot of other organizations. I think that's one of the things that's changing now with LLMs, where it used to be that data scientists and engineers, they build their stuff in their corner, supported by some infrastructure like GCP, but they build the algorithms, and very often it was batch systems, right? So once a day you populate your results to a database or something, and then you did something with it. But we in the data side don't have a lot of experience with building operational systems, like live, business critical, if you will, business critical systems.
Yeah.
And so using LLMs, it's always some kind of live use case. It has to be embedded in your IT systems. So we see a lot of organizations having this discussion now, like who should own this? And indeed, the people having the infrastructure experience are on the IT side, right? So they, I don't know if it's called IT with you guys, but it makes sense that they've done this successfully in the past. So please do this as well. Don't forget that there is a data component to it as well. This it's more than just integrated with a LLM API like OpenAI or something. You need to have that data expertise in the team as well. So I believe very much in it's easier said than done, but there has to be some kind of landing zone in the IT system where the data people can deploy their LLM solutions autonomously. So it's going to be a collaboration. I think so.
Exactly.
It's going to be a collaboration.
The person that can do everything just doesn't exist, right? There's just not enough time in the world to learn all those skills.
I think for Publiq, it's going to be quite an exercise because we're not that big to have this one team with a data engineer, data scientist, product owner, etc. So we're still a bit centralized, and on the other side, they have to collaborate. Centralized data team, and also they have to collaborate. So I'm not sure how we're going to work this out. Still, like it's going to be small steps and learn from it, etc. Like we do always at Publiq. But
exciting days.
One thing that helps is that we all get along very well. So we will figure something out. But it's definitely a challenge, right? Because, for instance, like to give an anecdote, like about the recommender, like first it was like every night it runs and just computes recommendations for everyone and writes them to the database.
Yeah.
But then, something changed. So now there's this thing that as a user, you log in for the first time, you can give your preferences. Like I care about these and these kinds of events. I care about events for kids or not. So we collect like this extra kinds of information about a user. But of course, when that happens, that's live. Like the recommendations need to... So suddenly...
You need to get other recommendations that same day, not the day after, right?
So suddenly it needed to become a service. And I was like, oh yeah, sure. Like the product people came to me and like, okay, this is how we see the UI change. And then, we need a live update. And I was like, okay, that's fine. That's just what I do every night for so many thousands users. So then I need to do it live for one user. How difficult can it be? Well, I'd never built a service. And so the thing about recommendations is it's really not difficult. So it's just vector similarities.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of events. So you need a lot of memory. So suddenly I was like, okay, I solved this and this thing now costs so many €100 per month because I need an instance with like a lot of RAM. That's just like most of the time just idle. So like really inefficient.
Yeah.
But like you can't really circumvent this. And so in the end, we solved it in a different way. But that was like first reality check, like, oh no, there is a very important difference between doing something in batch and having something 24/7 ready to go as a service.
Yeah.
Just because of like these, like it's not hard, but it just, if you're not careful, you need a lot of memory because you don't know which user is going to ask the request. So you need to have all the events ready to go.
Yeah.
And then that's difficult, of course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also it's like in concepts, but also in technology. When we talk about the architecture of radar, Elia already mentioned we need vectors, so we need a vector database. To store this linked data, we probably also need the graph database. So this new concepts that most of the infra and the other engineers we have, the software engineers we have, they know this tabular, they know MySQL, they know Postgres, etc. But now to go to this vector databases and this graph database, it's completely new for them. So
adds a lot of complexity to the stack.
Yeah, suddenly you want it to scale, so you want to scale it horizontally, but then you don't have any state anymore, so you need extra services that can host your state, and then in this case it's a graph database because suddenly the relational database is not good enough anymore. You also have vectors, so do you need a vector database or do you jam them in the graph database? Yeah, it's like conceptually it's all easy, but then you get down to it, and then suddenly like, okay, operationally this definitely has an impact, and it's not trivial.
It looks good on the slide.
Yeah.
Well, is it fair to say then that what has changed for you by adopting more LLMs is that, let's say, the data science complexity goes down because you don't need to write your own algorithm anymore, but the engineering aspects go up, the complexity of that?
I think that's definitely, I mean, yeah, for sure. I think for what we talked about most today, for the extraction and the resolution, I think that's super fair to say.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. I don't know if you have anything more to add about Radar that you haven't mentioned yet.
No.
Cool. Do you have it's a dangerous question, but do you have a release date? Like when can I as a user have a chat interface on the Uit in Vlaanderen?
No.
No.
Like I said, R&D now, and now making a plan, put it in slides, really on that kind of level. And then, go back to business, getting a buy-in, go back to our fundraiser, getting a buy-in. Some people already understand van okay, the Uit in Vlaanderen we have right now will probably not be the Uit in Vlaanderen in 2030.
Well, yes and no, I think, because it will solve the same problem, it will have the same mission, but it will do it in a different way, I guess. Hopefully.
Yeah, that's the goal. That's the goal. Also the Uitdatabank, probably the Uitdatabank and the UI we were talking about will probably change a lot with this data extraction. But what will change and what will be the steps to go there? That's still a question mark.
Exciting journey.
Yeah. True.
So I always wrap up with one final question for each of you. What is the biggest lesson you've learned in data? Sven, I'll start with you.
Yeah, it's funny because yesterday we were talking, Elia and me, and we came up, how did we ended up with data minded?
How did you? I don't know.
Yeah, you came by at our office and you showed us a GitHub repo of another client.
Did I?
Not the details, not the privacy, but you showed really that DataMind is using the software principles to do data engineering. And it was a really structured GitHub repo. You said, okay, we do also with pair programming, pull requesting, etc. And Stefan, okay, this is the first time I saw that. A data engineer who's doing really this, having this best practices of software principles in data engineering.
Okay.
So I think, I don't know the year exactly, but
it's a long time ago now.
5, 6, 7 years maybe ago. So that is really like one, for me, a big lesson that I learned, getting the software principle in data engineering and data science it's not easy. Sometimes it's a learning curve for data scientists and data engineers. And then it comes back to what we just talked about. You have to get this team around it. You have to set this ownership, who is going to do what. And that's, the organizational part of the structural, also the governance on it, that's really difficult. So that's, I think a lot of organizations are struggling with this. and we as well. So okay, it's okay to have the software principles, and we have with Data Minded and our own team, we are there. But now to get this organized, to this knowledge sharing about concepts and technologies, etc. That's still
To get the business on board.
Yeah, and also to get the business on board. Exactly. Because we can create some nice dashboards now, and they use it a lot. But now to get this data products in this services with all the best practices we are aiming for, that's a huge, still a huge step.
I can imagine. It's not trivial. Right, Elia, for you, the biggest lesson?
Yeah, in data, or let's say in AI, which I've been working on like now, I guess, since 2016, so almost 10 years. I think it's like, so there's always this new thing that comes along. I think we talked about it before also a bit. So there's like, first there was big data, then there was deep learning, now it's Gen AI and LLMs. So there's these hype cycles. And sometimes it's easy to get caught up in it. But what I noticed is that, in the moment, it's always like a promise of like this huge transformation of, okay, now everything changes. And that's not really true, right? Like we're now 2 years deep in ChatGPT, and I don't think like we have mass unemployment now or like this kind of thing. So that doesn't happen. So like the big immediate transformation, that doesn't happen. But if you look on timelines of like 5 years and you look back, then suddenly you notice like, oh my God, 5 years ago, everything was really very different. So it's like the immediate promise is often like exaggerated. But if you look on a longer term, so you shouldn't overestimate the short-term potential of change, but at the same time also don't underestimate the long-term potential of like a new technology.
Very wise words.
That's something that I've noticed. Like you tend to underestimate like where you will be in 5 years. Like all these tiny steps that you do take. In the end, then if you look at it as a whole, it's like, oh my God, we've done like really changed.
It's true, because every step seems so small. Like now we're enriching the data with LLMs, and now But then if you look back, indeed, what you said, the data bank will probably look completely different.
So
but it won't happen next month.
So for instance, that's something that I really believe for that reason. Like in 5 years' time, it will probably be quite different, but it will be with tiny steps.
Exciting times. Right, Elia, Sven, thanks for being with us, and good luck on building Radar.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having us as well.
Thanks a lot.